business?
It's in our everyday lives.
In our words.
Through our actions.
And the way we think.
So when we say, mind your business,
it really means we keep everyone's business in mind.
And to us here at SP School of Business,
Business is a choice.
A calling.
an opportunity to improve.
an avenue to make a difference.
It's about taking problems
and turning them into solutions.
Breaking stereotypes and building prototypes.
Business is a philosophy, an idea, a dream, a goal.
Yes, business encompasses numbers and analytics.
But it's also about relationships.
It's a community.
An ecosystem.
A language for global thinkers.
World peace.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Business is more than just about the money.
It's about being creative and adaptable.
And embracing endless possibilities.
Business is a way of life. And the things we do
Affect the way we live.
We have a huge part to play.
in making the world a better place.
So let's put our best foot forward. Look towards the future. And the future starts with
Welcome parents and students to SP School of Business EAE webinar. My name is Steffi and I will be your MC for the Common Business Program, Diploma in Accountancy, and Diploma in Banking and Finance session today. Before I introduce our speaker for the day, let me bring your attention to the Q&A button found at the bottom of your screen. You can ask our panelists questions by clicking on the Q&A button and keying in your question. Our panelists will answer your questions in the later part of the session. We do hope that you will stay on until the end to let us know how we've done through a feedback form. And from there, we'll be selecting 10 winners who will be notified via email. Today, we have our presenters from the 3 diplomas to share with us about their courses and life as a School of Business student. May I present to you Lex, Tanya, and Alex to share about the diplomas. Lex, please.
Thank you, Miss Steffi. Welcome one and all, I'm Alexander, but you can call me Lex, and together with my fellow batchmates Tanya and Alex, we will be presenting the Early Admissions Exercise webinar for the Common Business Program, Diploma in Accountancy, and Diploma in Banking and Finance. Firstly, I would like to personally thank everyone here attending this webinar and extend a heartfelt welcome to parents and prospective students alike. So Alex, why don't you give us a short introduction about yourself and how you got interested in the EAE program?
Hi, I'm Alex. I entered through the EAE system because ever since secondary 3, my love for numbers has just blossomed and I was always intrigued by the process of how a business or corporate entity would run, along with the knowledge of many prospects this course would provide me to broaden my view of the business world, knowing one day I'll be the one to take over my father's company. I knew this was the course for me. And as one of the times I was in the shoes of a secondary school student, I always wanted to know what the path ahead would be like. And I always had the thought that even the job of an accountant would be replaced by technology. However, that is simply far from the truth, as the Diploma in Accountancy course teaches you and allows you to hone the skills of using softwares that changes the level in the playing field. Thus, the job is not simply being replaced, but simply being digitized, which is something that I am looking forward to incorporating into my father's business in the future.
That's fascinating. Tanya, how about yourself?
Hey there! I actually already decided that this was the place for me back in Sec 3 itself. So my backstory was that, right, one day it just so happened that when I was walking past my father's room, I saw him looking through his bank statements and invoices, and suddenly there was this spark of curiosity. Intrigued, I questioned my father about all the statements laid out in front of him, words and phrases that piqued my interest but had no clue what they meant. From there, my thirst for knowledge about this industry just grew, and I just knew that this was the place for me. Thus, I went on to apply for EAE, and here I am. So, to my dear friends out there, if you're like me, where you've already decided on what you want to do after secondary school, then my advice to you is if a window of opportunity appears, don't pull down the shade. This EAE helped me to secure the place where my heart longed to be, and I'm sure that it will for you too. So I won't say it was easy, but it was definitely an exciting one. So yes, guys, that's just a bit about me.
That is truly inspiring, Tanya. I hope our fellow juniors here will be moved by your words, because I was. Well then, how about you, Lex? What got you interested in doing the EAE program for the Common Business program?
Well, I actually came to the EAE system due to a realization I had. Originally a secondary 5 student, I had the dream of actually heading into junior college. However, I knew I always wanted to use my voice. With 3 weeks left until the deadline, I got to work on my EAE submission. Doing so, I fell more and more in love with the idea of business and marketing, having already done it earlier that year back in 2020. Having little information on what business sector I enjoyed most, I entered the Common Business program to gain a broader view of the courses I could go on to specialize in for years 2 and 3. Without further ado, I would like to properly introduce myself. I'm Lex, currently a Business Administration in Innovation and Entrepreneurship student who is currently in year 2, but formerly came from the Common Business program in year 1. My fellow batchmates and I will be taking you through our experiences from secondary school decision making, EAE, and our time so far in SP. At the Common Business program, or shorter known as DCBP, we believe in a concept that many of us are familiar with: explore before specializing. Here, we allow students to test out what it's like in the business school before moving on to one of 6 specializations. The Common Business program caters for students who are passionate about business but need more exposure and hands-on experience to decide which business discipline or field to specialize in. This here shows the journey of a CBP student. Once he enters the course, he will read the same year 1 common modules as all School of Business students. These modules will give the students exposure to the different business areas. He will also be encouraged to attend the various activities organized to help him make a more informed decision on which specialization to choose. These activities range from the education career guidance lessons to talks by industry professionals. At the end of year 1, he will then rank his choices among 6 specializations, and he will be ranked based on his interest and aptitude. Finally, he will then be placed into one of 6 specializations and continue on to years 2 and 3 in the specialization that he has been placed in and graduate from there. So what are the specializations that the CBP students can choose from? These are Accountancy, Banking and Finance, and Human Resource Management with Psychology. The 3 other specializations are under the Diploma in Business Administration, or DBA for short. These are Digital Marketing and Branding, Innovation and Entrepreneurship, which I am in, and the International Trade and Operations. The common year 1 modules that School of Business students will read are as shown. These modules give the students an introduction to the various business areas. For example, accounting, marketing, and human resources. For the subjects in orange, these are what we call the taster modules, as they'll give the students a small taste of what the 6 specializations are truly like. This is a further elaboration of the specializations and their taster modules. A unique selling point of the Common Business program is that students, by reading the common year 1 modules, can have a clearer idea of the different business areas before they decide on their specialization. For example, if a student truly enjoys and does well in their year 1 module for the fundamentals of marketing, he or she will then consider choosing the digital marketing and branding as their specialization. Or the student can have a feel for the accountancy through the relevant module, business accounting. For banking and finance, the relevant module will be economics. For international trade and operations, IT and data analysis for business, and you'll have a flair for the human resource management if you enjoy the management and human resource practices module. For the innovation and entrepreneurship specializations, students will instead go through an interview to showcase their passion for the area. Besides having a taste of the specializations through these modules, how else does the school help students make an informed choice? There will be many activities organized by the CBP team to help students. For example, we have the career profiling events where education career guidance counselors help students to discover their interest and then share more about their careers which are suited to them. There are also industry talks by industry practitioners from 6 specializations. They share their main functions and what they enjoy most about their jobs. One of the highlights of these talks is that the industry practitioners are all School of Business alumni. Therefore, they understand what the students are going through and are therefore more relatable. We also have the Seniors Connect Day, where we invite Year 2 or Year 3 seniors from the 6 specializations to share their feelings and experiences being in their respective courses. And finally, the course chairs of the specializations will also give talks to the students, highlighting unique areas and aspects of their course. Underpinning these events are the ongoing weekly education and career guidance sessions, where students explore their values and interests to help them discover which careers they may be best suited for. Now, as a last tip from me, I would like to share some advice on the EAE. During my EAE write-up, video and interview, honesty is always the biggest thing here. Being able to back up your claims on events you have attended and or hosted will help you immensely. Being honest also goes without saying that you have to be heartfelt. Really showing the lecturers that you are interested in the course and having the desire to learn more. Next, select the course that you desire, not the course that someone wants you to take. Being interested in what you have to learn will aid in the learning process and transition between secondary school and polytechnic learning styles. Having an already interested mind will definitely prime you for maximum knowledge retention. Lastly, be friendly, be happy, smile more, and don't make the whole thing so serious. We have enough seriousness here as is. Be approachable and ready to answer questions with your own experience. After all, we meet new people to gather experience now, don't we? So why not share a little bit more about yourself and let others be captivated by what you've done? In conclusion, if you are very sure of which area of business you would like to specialize in, do select those SP diplomas directly. However, if you're still undecided and need more time to make up your mind, do choose the Common Business program. Also, please follow us on Instagram at SP Common Business to see what we're up to. Now let's hear from my batchmates in the Diploma in Accountancy and the Diploma in Banking and Finance. So Alex, any exciting facts about accounting that we may have seen just didn't know?
Well, good question, Lex. Do you know who ensures the rigor and fairness of all Oscar awards, beauty pageants, and even our own MediaCorp Star Awards? It's none other than the auditors from the Big Four accounting firms. And you can see here how PwC has been tallying the votes for the Oscar Awards for the past 82 years. And do you also know that the FBI employs over 2,000 accountants who are considered to be special agents to solve crimes? And as accounting professionals, we emphasize strongly on the codes of conduct and ethics, something you may have learned in your business accounting module to prevent frauds. We also have technological knowledge to read financial numbers and make sense of potential fraudulent transactions.
Oh, I have one burning question. I know you were talking just now about how accounting is not going to be digitalized and taken over by robots, but are they actually going to be? I mean, I'm following a lot of the trends online and they say that accounting is going to be. Can you help give some light on this, please?
Oh no, man, that's definitely not true. Technology actually aids accountants in their work, not replace them. Although we recognize that some level bookkeeping jobs might be replaced by automation, in SP we equip you with the relevant skills ready for you to train and take on the more strategic jobs in the future. And as long as you're able to master the tech and work on your soft skills, robots can never replace you. You will have a very good career in accounting. And some softwares that accountants use are also taught in this course, which includes accounting software such as ABSS, IT software such as Tableau, SQL servers, Excel, and so even though SP is one of the oldest polys in Singapore, it's still very up to date. So don't worry, man.
That sounds amazing. But what kinds of jobs can we consider after graduating then?
Well, there are many diverse pathways for accounting students, such as audit, forensics accounting, data analytics, taxation, etc. You can choose your preferred career choice based on your personal interests. One of my friends is aiming towards being an auditor, where you can check financial statements of the company and detect any material misstatements, while another friend of mine prefers taxation, which requires you to be familiar with the Singapore's tax laws. And as for me, I'll be exploring more about the auditing course next semester during my internship, something that I'm really excited to try. Okay, and with that being said, SP Accountancy actually prepares us for the different career pathways you may take. And as you can see in the curriculum here, there are many modules such as taxation, forensics accounting, and assurance, financial accounting, etc. These modules allow you to experience and decide which pathways resonates with you the most.
That's amazing, but how do we take this into the real world then?
Well, for starters, accounting is also a professional career, and there are many professional accounting qualifications available such as the ACCA and ICAEW. ICAEW is a qualification I am aiming to achieve actually. There are many exemptions from some papers provided for these qualifications if you join this course, such as the ICAEW. You'll be exempted from the certification level papers and only need to pass professional and advanced papers. Also, more than 50% of graduates actually enter local unis such as the NTU, NUS, and SMU. I'm currently aiming for either SMU or NUS. Our alumni who have furthered their studies in overseas universities have also claimed that they were granted exemptions for at least a year.
That's incredible, but what other opportunities are there?
Okay, so DC also offers multiple learning opportunities, such as allowing their students to represent DAC in many competitions such as the ICAE Deloitte Business Case Challenge and the SMU Tax Case Challenge. And did you know in September 2021, our Year 3 Accountancy seniors came in second runner-up at the ISCA's RPA Hackathon? We were really proud of them as it really wasn't easy and they had to compete against many other talented teams, even working adults as well. And thus, there are also industry talks conducted by professionals and companies such as Deloitte, ICAEW, etc. They offer better insights on future education pathways and career opportunities, etc., as well as collaborate more about the company itself. And just a note that these pictures were actually taken before COVID, so don't worry, talks I've attended in the past year were all online.
I can definitely relate to that since I've also attended some talks online. But lastly, how about internships?
Yes, internships. SP gives you the chance to work at one of the big four accounting firms. Example, PwC, EY. EY is where I'm interning, by the way. These are internationally renowned firms that are widely known in the business industry. There are mid-tier firms as well, such as SMEs, MNCs, that will teach you very valuable skills and show you that how the real working world is like. So if these photos are still convincing enough that accountancy is not boring, something that I get a lot from my friends in other courses, don't worry, because all our tutorials are conducted in an engaging manner with fun and loving and passionate lecturers. I can personally vouch for that. I also highly encourage you to join CCA to meet peers from other courses for a more enriching student life. Back to you, Lex.
So, Tanya, we've had quite a wild 2 years in the stock market, and one particular event, GameStop, took the world by surprise when it tenfold overnight. So does DBKF actually give you the space to discuss and talk about these kinds of phenomena?
Oh, thank you for that question, Lex. DBKF students have definitely heard of it. It has also been discussed in tutorials as part of class discussions, as it directly impacts the finance industry. I recall us discussing GameStop and how some hedge funds have lost money over it. Not only that, but we even discussed topics such as cryptocurrencies, for example, Bitcoin, as well as blockchain. So yes, DBKF definitely gives students the space to discuss these kind of finance trends and to even learn more about them. And just to reintroduce myself, hello everyone, I am Tanya and I'm currently a year 2 student from DBKF, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you today to share with you what DBKF is all about.
So then what is the big differentiator between accountancy and banking and finance then?
Oh, they are both actually very different. Banking and finance focuses on how a bank operates, how to plan finances, managing assets, as well as investments to get the best returns. Whereas accountancy focuses on the recording and auditing those transactions.
Wow, so you actually gave a short intro earlier on what piqued your interest in DBKF, right? So why Singapore Poly then?
Why did I choose SP? Well, to be honest, Diploma in Banking and Finance at SP was my first and only choice. Why is this so? Well, aside from the fact that it is right beside Dover MRT, I chose SP because it was the first Polytechnic to offer the Diploma in Banking and Finance. And I heard that the school has a very strong alumni network, especially it being the first polytechnic in Singapore.
Well, that's amazing. I joined CBP for practically the same reason then.
Right? Okay, so before we start the sharing proper, I have a question for the audience. Have you guys ever cycled or jogged past MBS and seen the buildings here? So aside from the three local banks, namely UOB, OCBC, as well as DBS, which we always see, there are all these other banks which you may or may not have heard of, such as Royal Bank of Canada and Industrial Bank of Japan. Some of you may not know, but we have more than 100 banks in Singapore. This is just how huge the sector is. To further emphasize this, there has been numerous finance movies out there, which some of you may have heard of, such as The Wolf of Wall Street or The Big Short, which was about the collapse of financial markets during the global crisis in 2008. I personally love to watch this with my friends who are also very enthusiastic about finance, and we're able to better understand the movie in greater detail since we could understand the financial jargons mentioned in the movie, making the movie even more exciting. But enough talk. We are business people here. How do we define huge exactly right? Singapore has a total asset size of almost $2 trillion. To put this into perspective, some of us may not even know that a trillion has 12 zeros. This sector is crucial for Singapore's role in the local and regional growth in trade and infrastructure. Singapore is also an established global private banking sector.
That's incredible. Please do go on.
Now that you have found out more about the scale of banking and finance industry in Singapore, let me share with you what banking and finance in Singapore Polytechnic is all about. Banking and finance is all about understanding the movement or allocation of money resources from individuals or organizations who have them in excess and want to build wealth to individuals or organizations who need it to spend or conduct business. Banking and finance is the business of all of this. It is the business of money. In 2020, the finance sector is the second highest contributor to Singapore's economy, the GDP, simply because it is everywhere. You need to spend, save, and invest in every stage of your life in any shape or form based on the banking and finance service that is available. Your money is also now stored and moved digitally almost everywhere.
Now, I have a question for some of the audience members. From some of the audience members. How do I know if DBKF might be the right course for me then?
That is a good question, Lex. So if you're wondering how to invest your money, how to grow your wealth, what is PayLah, PayNow, as well as all these other questions, then you are at the right place. Because banking and finance students will learn about all the answers to these questions in our robust curriculum. So talking about curriculum, let's get into it. There are three main backbones of DBKF. The first being digital and analytical skills. The curriculum aims to equip students with working knowledge of technology associated with the banking and finance industries. Students will be taught what is AI, artificial intelligence, and how to perform automations as well as analytical skills. In recent years, there has been a rise in fintech, otherwise known as financial technology, and digital banks who are able to leverage these skills to focus on problems such as financial inclusion, along with other issues issues that the normal banks have yet to tackle for so many years. I am sure that you would have heard of some of these digital banks before. For example, Grab and Singtel. They just received their digital bank license last year from the Central Bank of Singapore. They have a very huge potential in the digital banking market. For myself, I love technology, but I'm not a hardcore programmer. So I really like it that the banking and finance exposes me to digital and analytical skills in the business and finance context, enabling me to pick up practical and fundamental technical skills. I have learned how to perform automation in business processes, analyze and visualize data. And there's even a sponsored program called Empower AI for Girls by PayPal to deepen the understanding and skills in programming and basic artificial intelligence. The second backbone of DBKF is expertise and insights. Students will be exposed to modules covering the topics we see right here. They are also taught by lecturers who were once in the banking and finance industry. Thirdly, banking and finance's industry relevance and recognition. Students will be able to solve real-world problems through applied industry projects, leveraging on our close industry links with banks, financial institutions, fintech companies, and SMEs. This is an overview of the modules which students will be taking when they enroll into banking and finance. In year 1, almost all business students will be taking the same modules. However, in year 2, the subjects will be more tailored towards banking and finance. So, one of my most favorite modules which I am taking this semester is the essentials of risk management, where I am learning how banks operate, where it gets its income from, as well as most importantly, the risks that they face and how they manage them. And I can't wait to learn the rest of the year 2 modules, which I'll be taking next semester. Aside from the curriculums taught in school, banking and finance also has a strong industry engagements, including final year projects with companies and student agencies, which offers internships to engage with clients on digital marketing, analytics, and etc. For some of you, you may even have the chance to intern with MAS, which is the Central Bank of Singapore. For students who like to stretch themselves further and represent SP, banking and finance exposes students to an abundance of competitions such as Poly FinTech 100 API Hackathon, Financial Planner Awards, as well as the SUSS Analytics and Visualization Challenge, just to name a few. Prior to COVID, banking and finance, DBKF, has always organized learning journeys to companies to let students experience finance on a deeper level. However, due to COVID, the school has been working hard to invite speakers from big banks and financial institutions to give students an insightful webinar and answer our burning questions about the industry. Another selling point of DBKF is that the course has a scholarship that is only offered to DBKF students, called the UOB K Hyun Scholarship. And I am a UOB K Hyun scholar. This scholarship is a prestigious and bond-free scholarship. You will also have the opportunity to intern in the biggest local stockbroking company. Please do consider taking up this scholarship because your future interviewers will be very impressed when they do know that you are a UOB K Hyun scholar. And with that is all I have for my sharing about DBKF. If you're all curious about what we do and about our student life at Banking and Finance, please do follow us at dbkf.sp. And from here, let me hand over to Lex for the next segment. Over to you, Lex.
Thank you so much for sharing, Tanya. I know many of the prospective students will be more than interested to know about this course. Now, as we move on into our life in SP, Alex, I would like to start off with you. How has your life in SP been so far?
Well, thank you for asking, Lex. Well, for me, being in this course and SP in general for the past year has been phenomenal. In this course, you wouldn't just be learning about accounting itself, but also things such as programming for business, economics, marketing, and so much more. There'll be occasions where you might feel overwhelmed, but remember this golden rule. No matter what, always build strong friendships and connections, as you need your friends more than you know it. And following that, go and explore our various CCAs. Don't just spend 100% of your time studying for modules. Invest some in a CCA to earn points and give value to your portfolio that will do you good when you're trying to enter uni. And if you're worried about time management, don't. SP will ensure that you get a balance of all. So here are some pictures of me with my friends after finishing some projects, and me with my CCA buddies having supper after training. Oh, did I mention I was in Chukbo? Do check us out on our Instagram page at SB So Lex, we haven't really heard much about your transition to poly life. How was it so far?
Well, I must say the transition was smooth, thankfully due to many operations here that were quite easy to understand. But I can't say it was all a bed of roses. Project deadlines were a very new thing to me and forced me to manage my time better as well. However, I also joined SP because of a certain reason, despite the fact that I live all the way in the East. Also mainly down to convenience, with the Polytechnic being linked to an MRT station. It definitely saves me the hassle from having to take so many forms of public transport every day, especially since I live in Pasir Ris. It's a straight route for me to go from home to school. Fret not, SP also does allow for the occasional traffic jams and train disruptions by allowing a 15-minute grace period. But I shall have to enforce, do not take that for granted, as you're missing out on critical tutorial material. Now, nearly halfway through my journey here in SP, I was invited for the opportunity to become poster boy for the school. When I'd been told of the offer, I was incredibly honored that I'd been chosen as the only year one there. For many of us as well, this is how the classroom looked like for some part of the first semester, where we were told we had to shift back to online schooling, or what we called flipped classrooms. I was not taken too badly by surprise, as we'd all learned from 2020, and the Polytechnic was very smooth and capable in helping us with anything we had online. Lastly, as a common business student, you are given that extra time to make a decision that also means changing our minds based on what we have gone through. For me, I had my mind changed a couple of times before I set my sights on innovation and entrepreneurship. Having made that choice, I definitely feel a big sense of relief having come through the common business route to ensure that I've made the right decision. How about you, Tanya? How has the shift to SP been for you?
Honestly, for me, SP was one of the best things that has ever happened in my life. If you ask me what I like about SP, well, I don't know where to start. Life at SP is actually quite chill. You would have a lot of time for yourself because a lot of things are own time, own target, OT. Like lectures, you can watch them in your free time, but you would have to get it done before you come down for tutorials, which are so-called the hands-on activities. So it may seem that you have a lot of time, but speaking from experience, if you procrastinate thinking that there is more time and leave everything to pile up in that rush period where all your exams and project submissions take place, everything is gonna end up as a headache for you. So don't leave anything to the last minute. Please plan ahead and use your time wisely. Talking about which, I would like to add on the point about CCA. Well, CCAs are not compulsory in Poly. However, I highly encourage everyone to take up one. I am currently playing for the SP Women's Soccer team, a place where my heart belongs. This is the picture of my team. This was the starting 20 for the recent friendlies. Though the chill lifestyle, right, things may get tough at times and we may start to face some personal problems. This is natural, right? It happens everywhere. But in those times, my CCA was always there to cheer me up, to take away all the stresses of my day. It's just not about the trainings which gets my head out of things, but also the members in there. They're one of the best I've ever met in my life. But to be honest, generally all people in SP are like that. They're willing to go the extra mile to bring the best out of you. Moreover, I'm also currently holding the position of a treasurer in my CCA Exco committee. This would not only give me CCA points, but being a treasurer, it also helps me to handle money in a more efficient and effective way, which will eventually help me with my career in the banking industry. So please do consider taking up a CCA, and if you do, choose a CCA where your interest lies and try to get the best out of it. So Alex, what about you?
Well, as for me, I really like the flipped classroom concept SB has adopted, which allows me to have a more flexible schedule and lets me plan out my time however I want. Many people often ask me how am I able to balance my CCA commitment with other commitments in my life, such as like attending more webinars or events, and more importantly, my workload. Well, and I can honestly say that without the flipped classroom concept, that would not have been possible at all. And I also have more time to hang out with my friends on weekends, which is an important highlight of every school life, and something I'm glad I can make time for thanks to this flipped classroom concept.
And with that, before we end off, do take note of our course codes. Next year, we truly hope to see you back in SB. For now, do whip out your phones and follow us on our Instagram course page to find out more about student life at SB.
And that we have come to the end of our sharing. Thank you all for listening, and we hope to see some of you around SP soon. And now onto the segment of which of the fastest fingers win. Scan the QR code and enter how many tigers did you see.
It's okay. Sorry, this has been removed. And yeah, we're not doing this already. So sorry about that.
Alright, so
if you do have any questions as well, feel free to type it into the Q&A box on Zoom, and our friendly lecturers will answer them as well.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, students, and thank you, Lex. It is now my pleasure to introduce our panelists for today. We have the course chair for the Common Business Program, Ms. Alison Ho. Hi, Ms. Alison. We have the course chair for the Diploma in Accountancy, Ms. Yo Li Juan. Li Juan, are you there? Hi, Li Juan.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, and lastly, the course chair for the Diploma in Banking and Finance, Mr. Mark Johnson.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, at the bottom of the screen, you will see a Q&A button. You can ask our panelists questions by clicking on the Q&A button and keying in your question. Let us welcome our panelists again, Ms. Alison Ho, Ms. Yo Li Juan, and Mr. Mark Johnson. We will now move into the Q&A segment. All right, so the first question that we have here, someone asked, what can I do to prepare for EAE for DAC and DBKF? Mr. Mark Johnson or Ms. Yo Li Juan, would you want to answer this question?
Sure, maybe I can get started and then Li Juan can add on to it later.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good question because that's what you're here for is EAE, right? So how do you prepare for the interview? So as you know, for EAE application, we do two things. One is aptitude test and the other is an interview. So if you get chosen for the interview, what can you do to prepare? I think there's a few things that you can do. One is study up on the industry. Of course, we want to know if you have a passion for the type of job, so banking and finance or accountancy or even common business program. So read up a little bit on the industry, know some things about it. And I think also take a look at our website, take a look at the programs that we're offering, the course, what are the modules? So you have an idea of maybe what are the different modules and what are your interests. So that again, it's all about talking points for the industry. So Li Juan, how about you? Anything to add?
Sure. Yes, thanks, Mark. You have brought up a very good point about, doing some research and all. So important is that the applicants must share their true interest and aptitude towards the course itself in your write-up. And if you want to include, participation and achievements in CCAs, that will also help. And also important is that you must be able to also showcase, strong leadership skills, interest relating to the course itself. Yes. Any more to add?
Thank you very much, Li Juan. Okay, another question is, again, DAC and DBKF, what's the difference between the two courses? Li Juan or Mark?
Li Juan, you want to take
it? No worries, yeah. Okay, so I will just start by a little bit. All right, so for DAC, we are more towards compliance and also the preparation of financial statements. And of course, we do also teach students in the area of taxation, how to prepare, the tax filing. Or maybe next time when you join us, you can actually file, the tax with the Institute of the Inland Revenue. Every April or March, you have to file the tax with the tax authority. Yeah, and also we will teach skills like in audit. Yeah, so that will be a slightly different, from DBKF. Mark, you want to take over?
Okay, sure. So for DBKF, yeah, it is different because what DBKF is looking at is how to grow money, right? So we deal with things like loans. At some point, you probably want to go out and buy yourself a HDB or a condo. You need to get a loan, right? So you need to go see your banker. So you need to apply for the loan, and then they will, give you money to loan for that purpose. You earn money. You need to invest it. Where do you put the money? How do you grow it, right? You want to prepare yourself for retirement or to purchase vehicle down the road or something like that. So so it could be in the personal finance side, so consumer finance. It could also be for business finance. Businesses need money. They need to build factories. They need to buy inventory. So bankers will do that. So as Tanya was saying, there's more than 100 banks in Singapore, and they're all doing similar things. They're all looking at how do we take the money that we have, that $1 trillion with 12 zeros, and figuring out how to make it grow bigger than $1 trillion. So so basically that's what banking and finance is about.
Great, thank you, Mark and Li Juan. 12 zeros is a lot of zeros, yeah? You want to know how to get the amount of money? Yeah, join banking and finance, okay? All right, so moving on to our next question is probably this question. Do CBP students do an additional year? Miss Alison Ho, would you like to answer that question?
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right. Thanks, Steffi, for the question. No, you do not need to take additional 1 year for CBP course. Now, typically, a poly educations take 3 years. All right, and CBP in Singapore Polytechnic forms the first years of students a 3-year journey. So it's not 6 months, just to be sure, because some other CBP courses in other polytechnic is 6 months. So in Singapore Polytechnic, the Common Business Program takes 1 year. All right. So after going through your 1 year, you will progress into your specializations together with others in your 2nd year. So everybody start with the same footing in the 2nd year when they start the specializations. So hopefully that answered the questions.
Yes, thank you very much, Alison. But there's another CBP question related to CBP. What if I am unsure of what to choose at the end of year 1 in CBP? How would who assist me?
Sure. Very likely that may not be the case. Okay. Let me share with you why. Now, when the students come to join in Common Business Program, you will go through first year's Common Business foundational modules. So I think Tanya just now, if you heard the speaker, she mentions about the first year curriculum in Singapore Polytechnics are the same. All right. So be it whether you are in diploma in accountancy or diploma in banking and finance, or you come in as a CBP students, you will take the same common foundational modules. And these common foundational modules will match to the various specialization that is available for the School of Business. And in School of Business, we have 6 specializations. So you'll be able to go through this first year journey, have a taste of how accountancy is like through the business accountancy modules, how banking finance is like through economic modules, how marketing is like through a fundamentals of marketing modules. So at the end of 2 semesters, means a year, you will have a much clearer understanding of what is your aptitude towards which specialization. That is why I mentioned that the chances of you not knowing what is more suitable for you is quite unlikely. And furthermore, we have various events. For example, we'll connect you to your seniors in year 2 and year 3, like Lex, Alex, and Tanya. So they will share with you how is their journey, what is your experience, and we will also organize industry practitioner to talk to you. We have a career counseling with a career profiling workshops to guide you. So very likely you will not know. It's not likely that you don't know what you have, but probably you need to decide among maybe 1 or 2. So that is more likely the situations.
All right, great. Thanks, Alison. That was very informative. So yeah, don't worry about not knowing what to choose. You'll be provided with a lot of informational sources when you are in your year 1. Yeah. Okay. Next, we have another common business program question. When choosing course for the 2nd year, do you look on the grades for the students in year 1?
Okay. Very good questions. I think this is the questions in mind for all the prospective students and parents. Now, we will stream all the CBP students into the specialization at the end of the first year, okay, before they start their 2nd journey with the rest of the first year students. The outcome is based on 3 criteria. First is the full year academic performance. Second is the outcomes of the taster modules that you have taken. For example, I mentioned that we have 6 specializations. So there will be taster module for you to go through. For example, Li Jian, she has decided to use business accounting as a taster module for CBP students. So if you want to go into accounting, if you feel that business accounting and you choose accountancy as your first year, as your first choice, I think Li Jian will say, maybe we have to take a look at this case carefully. All right, so that is what we mean by the aptitude towards that specialization. We assess that through these taster modules. And the third criteria is the vacancy for each specialization. But having said that, allow me to just add on. Eventually, all the CBP students will stream into one specializations. And I'm glad to share that we have almost everyone get into their first choice. All right, and that outcome, we definitely don't take it for granted because a lot of planning goes behind the scene. We mobilize a lot of resources. For example, we will take a poll before the actual ranking exercise to get a sense of what is the likely need and capacity needed for each specialization. For example, do we need 4 classes for accountancy, 4 classes for banking and finance, or we need to take more classes? So we will take this poll nearer to the actual ranking exercise for the students, all right, so that we know that by that time, most of the students would have made up their mind. And that exercise is done regardless of regardless of what is the student's academic results, So we want to make sure that we do have sufficient capacity to cater for every student's aspirations. That's why our students getting into their first choice are very, very high. All right, so hopefully by sharing these insights that can put the prospective students at ease, essentially, Common Business Program is actually a program that allows the students, as they go into their first year, all right, before they go into their specialization in second years, they actually take a bit of time to experience, to understand what is the interest before they make that decisions. Okay, so this opportunity is given for everyone. All right, I probably just add on with one experience that I have with one CBP student. He came in thinking that he is very good at maths. So you know that, Li Jian, you probably know that he probably wants to do accountancy, but he has this impression that, okay, if I choose those more number oriented, so he was thinking of whether to choose accountancy or not, but then he wasn't very sure whether it's DBKF or accountancy. So he came into CBP. And with the perceptions that doing a number-oriented module, don't have to write reports, don't have to do research, wow. So then he realized that that's totally wrong. Okay, so you still have to groom and develop your communication skills, soft skills, writing skills. So at the end, I was very curious what he actually put as his first choice, because we always try to give students the first choice. Guess what? He still went for his original options, but he has beefed up his writing skills and he's a lot more prepared for his second year in accountancy. So that is what we mean by this platform for you to gain more assurance. Also allow you to change your heart, like Lex. Lex, this is our speaker, CBP students. He was originally not very sure whether he should do marketing or entrepreneurship, but he was changing a little bit of decisions. But at the end, he is happy with where he is now.
Thanks, Alice.
Over to you, Steffi.
Sharing. Okay, so we'll move on to another question with regards to CCA. Probably one of the students, either Alex or Lex or Tanya, can answer. How important is having a CCA? Maybe one of you can switch on your camera.
I think I can help to answer that. So the importance of having a CCA is that, okay, so CCA points are broken down into many categories such as like leadership, participation, service and learning, etc. And having a CCA, it makes it much more easier to earn CCA points. So for example, I'm in Chukbor, right? And I go for CCA every week, Monday and Thursday. So that's like one CCA point for each training. And after a semester, like let's just say there's like 10 trainings, so I'll gain 10 participation points, right? And one thing about having a CCA compared to a student who does not have a CCA throughout his or her 3 years in poly is that the university will not just look at your academics, they want an all-rounder student. They want someone who has a CCA, like be it a sports CCA. So you might have like taken leadership roles, you know how to lead a team, or that you're a team player, you know how to work well with other people. So they want to see those kind of values within you. And even if it's not a sports CCA, join something that you can contribute meaning to society, even if it's like the business club, you're always planning events, presentations, volunteering for something, it's for a good cause. And the unis would definitely want to see that in you. So having a CCA is very important, especially in poly.
Thank you, Alex, for that very insightful information. All right, so we move on to the next question. Hang on, yeah, let me just find the question. Okay, this is from Mr. Mark Johnson, DBKF. Any tips specifically for EAE applicants for DBKF?
As I had mentioned before, the tip would be to know about the industry. I think when Tanya was talking about when she walked by her father's desk, right, and he was doing the bills, looking at his investments or whatever he was doing, it sparked her interest. So if you do have that interest, do you track stocks? Do you look at what your bank statement is every month? Do you see how different financial products work, right? So if you can be able to talk about these types of things, then I think that's the tip as far as maybe getting into the course. So we basically just want you to be prepared and to be ready to discuss relevant topics about the industry and about our course, right? And to show some passion. And I think then you'll be considered.
Thank you, Mr. Mark Johnson. That's really very good tips. Yeah, and I think we have a similar question for DAC as well, for EAE. Any courses or additional things that they can do to up their profile, up their portfolio for the EAE application?
Yes, I also agree with what Mr. Mark has mentioned. Actually, it's important that we do some research on, how the accountancy industry has transformed and changed over the last few years. And probably you can read about the skills framework, that we can easily just Google online. Yeah, just to find out more about, what's happening out in industry, what are job prospects, so that when we ask your question, you're not like caught off guard. Yeah, and also important is that if you have any CCA involvement, you can also showcase, leadership skills, or even service that you have done, community service. You can also showcase how you have contributed to the project, or if, in particular, if you have you are part of the treasurer or the secretary, you can also mention about how you did do budgets, for such projects, etc. That will be very good to showcase your potential in accounting.
Could I just add on?
Sure, go ahead.
Because I remember I interviewed Lex during the EAE. Now, if any of these prospective students out there, then after you hear Mr. Mark Johnson, you hear Mr. Ayo, and they say, I didn't join any accounting club. I didn't monitor stock, then how, right? So I remember this Lex. He was in fencing team. Lex, would you like to just help me out?
So yes, I do remember that fated interview back in 2020. Yes, you asked me the question on what was my passion. And I said my passion was fencing. Even though I had gone through so many bodily injuries, have basically, kaput my knees, it still was a big passion of mine. It was still something that was something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. It was an undying thing, and I took that passion into business as well, being it as like as a force of motivation to push me to go forward as well.
Yeah, I remember that because fencing is nothing to do with, either human resource or marketing. It's just a sports. Okay, so he talked about his experience for being an athlete, being in the fencing club, all the communications and all the intense competitions, he's able to really communicate and explain all his experience so vividly, and all the soft skills that he has learned, all the takeaway from the teamwork, even though it's competition, but it's a lot of friendship. And these are all very precious takeaway prospective students. You surely have take part in some CCA. I'm very, very sure. I mean, we all, very sure that you have some takeaway from your CCA, how you learn from there. And soft skills is very important for business. All right, it's not just about the hard knowledge, hard skill, but soft skills. So we gathered a lot of soft skill from Lex, and he was able to explain experience surely with, okay, can't be fake, surely, because it's so real, that's why I think Lex was saying in his last slide that has to be honest. We will know that whether you are genuine or not, whether you have gone through the experience or not, you will just make it up. Hope that these sharing will help you in what you, as you so-called prepare your portfolio.
Thank you, Alison, sorry, and Alexandra as well. Okay, so one more question, not one more, sorry, we have a few more. Probably we answer a question relating to uni. Okay, for probably Li Juan, for DAC, do local universities offer exemptions from our diploma in accountancy?
Not all unis offer exemptions. Usually they are more on the modular basis. That means that depending on the grades that you actually scored for a module, they might exempt off from that particular module in the university. But there's a very exciting news is that SIT, the Singapore Institute of Technology, they actually offered a year off for all accountancy poly graduates. Yeah, so that means our students can go into year 2 straight away. Yeah, so that would mean that they have cut short their uni education by a year. That will take about a year and 7 months, to finish a degree with SIT. Yes, correct. Yeah. So our accountancy graduates actually have between 50 to 70% managed to get into local autonomous universities. So we are very proud of their achievements and the rigor of curriculum that have managed to put them through, into the local youth itself. So yeah.
Thanks, Li Juan, for that. May I pose the same question to Mr. Mark Johnson? Are there any exemptions for DBKF into local universities?
Okay, yeah, it's a very good question. With the local universities, as Li Juan was saying, the exemptions are module by module. So let's say you want to exempt, let's say economics, right? You can apply for an exemption, and they may give it to you, they may not. They may ask you to take a test, or that kind of thing. But what we do find is that most students that are even offered an exemption may not take it, okay? Because they find that doing the module at the university level is different than doing the module at the Polytechnic level. You'll gain some additional insight and probably learn some additional things that will help you maybe in year 2 and year 3, etc., for your degree. So I think that's something to note, is that most of our students tend to want to go through all the modules at the university level.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mark Johnson. Well, that's an interesting thing about wanting to do an extra year in uni, but good for them. Yeah, they learn more. Another question is for maybe Li Juan as well. A lot of students ask, even at school talks, do they need to have knowledge in POA, Principles of Accounts, to come into our DAC course?
Oh, that is a very common concern, among students who have not taken POA. Oh, yeah, not to worry. No, you don't need to have a POA background to apply towards DAC, because we do have a module which is business accounting. As shared by Miss Allison just now, that we will be able to put everyone on par. After that module, which is offered also in year one. Yeah. So So POA is never a requisite for the accountancy program here in SP. Yes.
Okay. One question from an ITE graduate. Are ITE graduates from higher NITEC in accountancy granted any exemptions in the diploma program? Is your Juan?
Sorry?
Okay, sorry, I'll repeat the question again.
Yes.
Are ITE graduates from higher NITEC in accountancy granted any exemptions in the diploma program?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah. No, unfortunately, we would prefer that ITE students actually go through the diploma from scratch, from the start. Yeah, because the way we teach a module will be also quite different, from how ITE has taught the module. And we might potentially go more in depth, into a certain concepts and stuff like that. So it is encouraged that, or rather, we would prefer not to offer the exemption, so that we will prepare students sufficiently, in terms of further education in future as well. Yes.
Great, thank you, Juan. Mr. Mark Johnson. How about AMath? AMath for banking and finance, is it necessary or is it required?
No, advanced mathematics is not required. I think both banking and finance and accountancy, we call them numbers diplomas, right? Because you do deal with a lot of numbers, but it's not numbers such as calculus and those type of things, right? So it's not advanced mathematics. Some students like to take advanced mathematics when we do offer electives during your 3 years, and one of the electives is to take advanced mathematics, and that will maybe help you when you go to university. But it's not required for any of our diplomas in the School of Business.
Okay, great. So actually, you can come to the School of Business with no prior knowledge of accountancy or even AMath. So don't worry about that. We will teach you what you need to know for to enter into the School of Business. Yeah. All right. One question here. To all three course chairs, I don't know if any one of you can answer this. Is it possible to use academic results as part of applying for EAE?
Okay, I can help. Academic results can show that you are relatively disciplined. Okay, it's not easy to get good results. For example, you need to be very good in your time management discipline, but EAE is an aptitude-based admission exercise ultimately. All right, even though it may show us that, okay, you are relatively disciplined, very good time management, you are able to study, but at the end of the day, aptitude-based exercise means that you must show the aptitude towards the area that you wanted to apply. All right, so if you are interested in banking and finance, like what Mr. Mark Johnson said, you have to demonstrate you're able to articulate certain area connected to that area. Like accountancy, you must be able to have some articulation and understanding. If we ask you about what are the modules, and if you haven't even gone through our website, all right, don't know what is the modules that you will be taking, I think that shows that you have not done your homework, regardless of how good is your academic results. So the answer is yes, but no. Yeah, yes, it does help us to understand more about you, but no means that you do have to demonstrate your aptitude towards that business area that you are applying for.
Thank you, Ms. Allison. All right, so let's move on to probably jobs and prospects for after the diploma. For DBKF, Mr. Mark Johnson, how is the curriculum of DBKF designed? Is it aligned with any professional qualifications?
Okay, so for banking and finance, it's not related to any necessarily a qualification. because there are many qualifications out there. I think the way we structure our program is that we want to give you a flavor for all the different areas, not all the different areas, but many of the different areas that you could potentially work in the finance sector. So that when you decide after you graduate from Singapore Poly and you go to university or you go look for that dream job of yours, you already have an idea of the type of work that you're going to be doing. And then of course you can work towards that qualification at that point. So I think that's the way we structure it. So some areas that we do train you in is, as Tanya was saying, we train you in artificial intelligence. You know, fintech is very important right now, understanding technology. If you read the news recently, you'll see that the sector says they're going to be adding 9,000 jobs over the next few years. So there's a lot of jobs available, but a lot of the jobs are very different. You know, so once you're in the program, you'll get an idea of what your interests are and where you want to work in that financial sector, and then you can start moving towards that direction. I hope that answered the question.
Yes, very much so. Thank you, Mr. Mark Johnson. All right, the last question is a DBKF related question. What is the interview style like for the DBKF interview? Is it one-on-one or is it presentation style? What exactly are you looking for in terms of the interview?
Okay, so for the EAE interview, we do it as a panel interview. There'll be 2 people interviewing at one time, and we'll be interviewing 4 or 5 different applicants at the same time. So we have a list of questions, and then we'll ask you to answer the questions, and we'll go from person to person to answer the questions. You know, so at some point you'll get to answer the first question, or maybe they'll be the last one to answer one of the questions, or those kind of things. So it's not a one-on-one interview, but it's an interview so we can get an understanding of who's sitting in front of us and what, again, are their passions, aptitude, and interest in the course.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mark Johnson. Yes, so that was the last question. If you have any more questions, feel free to come and contact us. I will let you know how in the next few slides. So thank you very much, course chairs, for the very insightful Q&A session that we had. We hope to see